Terrible. So how do I see the comments?
All right, so we're live. So the first part of this is we're gonna have to like figure out what we're doing. So this actually works correctly because we're doing this through Zoom and then we're sticking it on Facebook. So you probably got a notification there. So to be able to see the Facebook comments, you have to.
Should I refresh?
You can try that, yeah. Yeah, see, there it is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and you can click that.
Okay, got it. I'm on it.
And then if you click on it.
Right here?
Probably. You can try that, yeah.
Okay, now I can see the comments.
Yeah, so then turn the sound off over here so it doesn't interfere.
Got it.
And then you should be able to see comments.
Okay, I'll be in charge of comments. John is going to be speaking.
Wendy's going to be speaking.
Pay no attention to the woman behind the curtain.
Right?
Hey, everybody.
So cross-post that to share that on your, hit share right here.
Share in a group?
No, share to a page probably.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want to share it in a group.
How about my personal page, maybe?
Will it let you do that?
No, it won't let me do that. It's not an option.
So change this up here to share on a page you manage to share on your timeline. There you go. And then that'll be a post on your timeline.
Okay.
So people that don't happen to follow us here on the Cashflow Couple may be able to find it through your personal page. Does that make sense?
Yes, I got it.
Good enough.
Okay, this has been shared on your timeline.
Yeah, so
okay, cool. Hopefully
that'll get somebody to interact because it'll be really boring if nobody shows up. But you can always watch the replay. It's Facebook Live, right? So that's a cool thing. And hopefully you can hear us. Hopefully the
sound was working on mine.
Hopefully the audio is actually working. So
let me see if it is.
Well, I think it was before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it should be good.
Okay.
So now we've bored everybody with the technical details. We won't have to do that again because we kind of figured it out. So the topic of this post was we kind of get this a lot, and it's one of those things that when you change your mindset about the business and everything that you learn new is always mindset at first, isn't it? So what we had to kind of go through is changing our mindset from saying, hey, we're running an Airbnb, or hey, we have an Airbnb, or it's an Airbnb business and all that kind of thing. And there's a really good reason for that. And we just actually finished up this is something that we don't talk about in our book.
Here's our book.
Yes. So if you haven't gotten the book, check that out. But we wrote this, basically it started out as like a 2-page PDF.
Right. We just came up with like 100
tips and tricks. We called them secrets because it makes it sound cooler for a book.
Right. And then we were like, we should really flesh this one out. We should talk about this one a little bit more. And then we said, okay, well, let's just write just a little bit more about this one right here. Right. And then 200 pages later, it's a book. So
yes, it was a very long PDF. So I was like, let's just make it a book. But one thing we don't talk about in there, because that book is actually written for people that are operating already, that maybe have a unit or two or whatever. And it's kind of the things that we've learned along the way as far as, what to put in your unit
Right.
You know, do I use how many towels do I need? And all sorts of like really valuable stuff that you need to know. But one of the things we really don't talk about in there a lot is mindset. And we don't talk about how to acquire, you know, units, or we don't really talk a whole lot about how to actually run them either. Although a lot of the tips in there are things you should be doing if you are running a professional short-term rental business. But one of the big things that happens a lot is you hear this all the time. You know, even people that are going to rent a space, they're saying, I'm looking for an Airbnb, right? And I see this from people that operate. They say, well, I'm starting a new Airbnb, or I've got 3 Airbnbs, and all that kind of stuff.
Or I'm Airbnb my property.
Yes. And it's really important to stop saying that. If you are on the side of the host, if you're the person that's providing these properties, then there's a really good reason why you should stop doing that. And we actually just completed a training that was meant for one of the groups that we are mentors and leaders in. It's the Kingdom Real Estate. If you haven't checked that group out, if you're interested in real estate at all, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. But we just did a training inside of there for people that are basically looking to get their first unit, and it kind of walks them step by step through how to do that. It's called 5 Steps to Your First Short-Term Rental, and we've also made that available on our website as well, thecashflowcouple.com/start, I believe.
Thecashflowcouple.com/start.
Yes, so you can go there and check it out if you want. But there's a big part in there that's the first part, and it's all about mindset. And a big part of that is why we don't say Airbnb. We've taken that out of our lexicon. And when we change our mindset like that, every time I hear somebody say that, I almost kind of cringe a little bit, because anytime that you change your mindset like that, and you learn not to say certain words for certain reasons, then you hear it every time somebody says it, you know, and it kind of bothers me. So the reason we're doing this on Zoom is I wanted to share with you part of that training, because I explain it very well in there why we don't do that. And so I'm going to share with you part of that PowerPoint presentation, and just that part of it. So this is a few slides into that presentation, but it's right after I've said what I've just said to you. You're not running an Airbnb business. You're running a short-term rental business. And I think this picture is hilarious, by the way.
I love it. It's great.
But basically the idea is when a company like an Airbnb dominates a market, when it becomes
hey, Tyler Chef is here.
It kind of becomes a verb. It becomes a noun. People start using it that way. And you hear people saying things like I just said, hey, I'm running an Airbnb, or I'm Airbnb-ing my property, or I'm looking for places to Airbnb. And that's actually really dangerous thinking. It's a really dangerous place to be in if you're running a short-term rental business. And I'm going to show you why that is. And one of the big reasons, if I can figure out how to make the slide move, is that what you're doing when you're doing that is you're putting Airbnb in the middle. Airbnb is the brand, okay? And this is actually a risky business structure. In Airbnb, if you look at it this way, what you've done is you put Airbnb in the middle, you've made Airbnb the brand, and there are customers who come to Airbnb looking for places to stay, right? And Airbnb on that platform is matching those people with hosts who have Airbnbs, okay? Quote Airbnbs. In fact, there are lots of hosts on Airbnb. And what a lot of people do, especially when they first get started, is they say, hey, I'm going to be an Airbnb too. And so that's you. You're the little blue guy over here. And you run your flag up and you say, hey, I have an Airbnb. And there's some things I want to point out about this slide, this business structure, and why it makes it risky. For one thing, those people that are coming to you through Airbnb aren't your customers. They're actually Airbnb's customers. In fact, you're separated from them by Airbnb. So the only way they know you is through that brand as an Airbnb. And while you're really no different than anybody else that's also on that platform, you're just another spoke in the wheel. You're just another customer, or actually another product that Airbnb is selling to their customers. Okay. Another thing I'll point out about this particular business structure, this way of thinking about your business, is that there are a lot of good things about being associated with a brand. For one thing, everybody knows what it is. That's mostly why everybody says it, because they don't want to explain. So I'm always having to explain, well, what's a short-term rental?
Right.
And once I explain it, a lot of people will say, oh, you mean an Airbnb? And I'm saying, no, it's actually not. And there are reasons I do that. And that's why I'm explaining this to you this way. So while there are a lot of good things about being associated with that brand, such as awareness of what it actually is, what happens is when something bad happens, when another host that's also an Airbnb and adopts that brand does something bad, you see it in the news all the time. In fact, what spawned this was a news article I read this morning, somebody complaining about the pillows in Airbnbs. And so people read that article. Or, for example, in Charlotte a few months ago, we had people that had a party at a Airbnb. This is the way it's reported in the news, and people were killed. People were actually shot at this party. And so now, because you are also an Airbnb, you're now associated with anybody else on that platform that does something bad or scams somebody or has a party, or perhaps, the brand just becomes unpopular. And another big thing about this is, because you depend on Airbnb for your customers, what happens if they delist you, or they don't like you anymore, or they decide that, hey, you violated some policy, or Airbnb is banned in your area, for example? Now you have no customers. You've lost your entire business. In fact, you might not have one home on the end of the spoke. You might have 5. And all of a sudden, all that revenue that you were counting on through Airbnb is now gone, and you're stuck. So what's a better way? What's a better way to think about this? What's a better way to structure your business? And I would submit to you that you are the brand. It's better that you are in the middle of this picture instead of placing the brand in the middle. And once you start thinking that way, you'll realize that Airbnb actually is just a platform. It's a marketplace from which you can acquire customers. So in this slide, I've put myself in the middle. I've run up my flag. That's our brand. We're Queen City Suites here in Charlotte. And what we've done is we have realized that we are the brand, and now Airbnb is just a marketing channel from which we acquire customers. In fact, there are more than one. There's HomeAway. We acquire customers from there. There's Booking.com. We can acquire customers from there. And the great thing about being the brand and realizing that these are actually just marketing channels is that we can actually have our own website as well. And no matter where our customers come from, whether they come through Airbnb or come through HomeAway or come through our direct website, we can now start putting them on a list. And so now we're building our own customer list, no matter where they come from. And now we can retarget, remarket, redirect back to those people as they come back to the area and say, hey, don't have to go through Airbnb or HomeAway or Booking.com and pay those fees. In fact, we could give you a discount if you come back through our website. And the great thing about that is, if an Airbnb decides they don't like me anymore, that's fine, because now I have other sources of revenue. I have other places I'm going to. I'm building my own customer list and my own clientele. And now we own that traffic more and more. So even though when you first get started, you might have a lot of customers that are coming through one of these platforms like Airbnb or HomeAway. Verbo is HomeAway as well. Over time, you start owning those customers, and now they're your customers. They're not Airbnbs. They're your customers. They're not HomeAways. And over time, you'll have customers that come to you, your brand, come to Queen City Suites instead of coming through those platforms. And by the way, if one of those platforms goes away, that's okay. In fact, you might start targeting a lot of other businesses and partnering with those in your area. For example, realtors, they have people staying in the area all the time in between closings. You might market to insurance adjusters and agents for people that are, for example, we had a family here recently that their house flooded. They needed a place to stay they were here 3.5 months, and they booked with us directly. We got paid by the insurance company, and it provided a solution for them. But that was traffic that we got that had nothing to do with Airbnb or HomeAway or Booking.com. It had to do with Queen City Suites and our brand and our local marketing. There are hospitals that you can partner with in the area. There are always people coming for procedures. There are always traveling nurses. A lot of times they're traveling, all sorts of traveling medical professionals that need places to stay, and we can build relationships with them directly as well. There are businesses in your area that have people coming to the area that need places, need people to stay, salespeople, people coming for training. That's been a big one for us. We've had a lot of people in our local area that come to train. For example, we had somebody coming to a car lots that was a regional training. They stayed for a few weeks. But the point of this is that we are not an Airbnb. We are a Queen City Suites. And because we have all of these sources of revenue, and because we have this list of clientele that we're building, we're actually building our brand, not relying on an Airbnb or a HomeAway. So because we think this way, this is why I never say, hey, I'm running an Airbnb, or I'm running a HomeAway, or I'm running a Booking.com. And this is a much more solid business structure. This is much less risky than putting all your eggs in, somebody else's brand and building their customer list. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's what I wanted to show you as part of this slide. I'm going to stop sharing this if I can figure out how.
It says stop sharing.
There we go. And just kind of go back here. So did anybody actually join in this at all?
Tyler Shuff said, hey.
Where do you see that comment?
Well, I saw that he liked it.
Oh, okay.
But nobody's commented anything yet.
Okay.
See any comments? Anybody have any questions?
Type something in there and see if it pops up the comments. That happens sometimes on Facebook, and I don't know why. And part of it's probably just because we're on the Cash Flow Couple page, which only has a certain number of followers. So that's why we shared it to Wendy's page. And it's the middle of the day, all that kind of thing.
It's true. It's almost lunchtime.
But we thought, hey, we should start putting some of this content out here and actually answering questions, because we get people that ask us questions all the time.
We never really did introduce ourselves.
We didn't. So I'll let you do that. I've been talking for 30 minutes.
Well, if you don't know us, we are John and Wendy Williams, and we are the Cash Flow Couple. We own a short-term rental business.
Not an Airbnb business.
Not an Airbnb business. We own a short-term rental business. We own and operate a short-term rental business here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've been doing that for a little over 2 years now. And we got started, actually, we had been in the real estate investing space. We both quit our jobs and we jumped into the real estate investing space about 2 years ago.
Yeah, doing fix and flips was the first time.
A little bit more than 2 years ago. And so we've done.
I hate to tell you, that was like 3 years ago now. Time flies, I know.
So we have, been doing some fix and flips. I watched a little bit too much Fixer Upper. I'm a huge fan of Joanna Gaines. And so I was watching that. I was like, hey, John, let's go flip some houses.
Yeah, and the numbers on HGTV are always like phenomenal. No. Like I bought it for 100,000 and put like, 30,000 in it and sold it for like 5 million or something, no holding costs, just, all that.
Right. So we did that. We did some other things in the real estate investing space, and so we the last two flips that we did turned out really bad.
Yeah, we had two go bad in a row.
We and we had put all of our money into it, and in a last ditch effort, I actually
Wendy actually
I actually said, and I didn't really ask John about this, I just kind of did it. I bought a bed off of Craigslist and I put it in our basement. We have a fully furnished basement, and I put it down there, and I bought a coffee pot, and I said, okay, we just need to, you know, help make ends meet, right? Help pay the mortgage. And I'm just going to stick it up on Airbnb and see what happens. And lo and behold, people actually came to stay with us. Like, it worked. And
yeah, the second guest we got ever, which is one of the tips in our, do we put that in the book? Like how to keep people from doing that? But the second guest we got ever stayed 3 months.
yeah,
He stayed 3 months. It was the car lots guy.
car lots guy.
The first one. We've had another one since.
Yeah,
but
sure enough, that the same guy, like the manager actually contacted us again and said, hey, we have another guy. Can he stay at your place? So it worked. And we live like 30 minutes away from Charlotte, and it's not like we are close to anything really, but we realized that we were making more money in our basement, short-term rentaling our basement, than we were making in the buy and holds that we had. So
yeah, because we had a rental that one of those flips that went bad. We ended up keeping it.
we had to keep it. So we realized that we were making more money doing that than we were in our regular buy and hold. So we thought, hey,
let's just go do more of that,
go
right?
do that again.
Yeah.
And that's when we started to scale our business into other properties that we weren't living in. And then we realized, hey, well, we can go rent these properties.
Well, that was the thing. We were like, how can we get more basements? Right. We only had the one, and we'd spent all our money failing at fix and flip. Right.
Right.
And a lot of it was sitting over there in that rental. So it was how can we acquire more of these? And then that's when we learned the strategy that, hey, you can actually go rent these and then operate your business inside of them. So that's been our business model up till now. Other than the basement, we've acquired properties by renting them and then changing the use to short-term rental, and then taking the difference between what we're renting it for and what our expenses are and what we're generating from the short-term rental. And that's worked out very well for us to be able to scale, add units, all that kind of thing. And that's what that initial training that we just got done actually shows you how to do. It's step-by-step how to do that.
Right. So we show,
and we still use that same strategy today.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So it's the 5 steps. We've broken it down into 5 steps on how to get your first short-term rental. So we talk about a little bit about the mindset, the training that we just did. And then we talk about, in the training, we talk about who your customer type should be. And we help you kind of go through that and help you figure that out. And then we talk about where you should look for properties,
property
types, what types of properties you should be looking for, how to analyze a property to see if it will work, and if you
like, are you going to make money or not?
Are you going to make money?
It's kind of the point.
Yeah. And then we analyze that, and then we also go through how to talk to landlords as well. So those are the 5 steps that we take you through in this training. And if you're interested in the short-term rental space and you just don't know how to get started, go check that out. It's thecashflowcouple.com/start. and that will get you to the training that you need in order to get started in the short-term rental space.
Yeah, because we get that question a lot. I was like, we should just put something together, because everybody's like, okay, you lease these places. Well, how do you convince landlords to let you do that? Like, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just do it themselves? So
Right.
a lot of those type questions are answered in there. And one of the first things you need to do is the topic of this is you need to stop thinking of yourself as an Airbnb. Just don't say it. Just take it out of your vocabulary.
Yes.
You know, it's
stop saying it.
Airbnb is a brand, but that's not you. You're not Airbnb. Because, for example, just an example that I can give you, when we have people come from that platform, we don't have to take them. You know, we turn down people all the time. I turned down 2 people this week off of that platform because they didn't meet our criteria for booking times and all that. So we screen. We don't have to take people from that platform. That's a big thing that people don't realize when you say, oh, well, I'm running an Airbnb, and they're like, well, who's going to be in there? And I don't want all these people coming. So you have to kind of rewire the way you think about that, you know? So, oh, Luzma's in here.
Yep. Hey, Luzma. Hola. ¿Cómo estás?
She's done some cleaning for us in the past.
That's right.
Excellent cleaner.
Yep.
So if you're
Highly
in our
recommend
area
her.
and you need some cleaning, check out Luzma. She can hook you up.
We don't have any questions.
Nobody likes us.
Apparently.
Well, a lot of people are at work
True.
this time of day, and you can always catch it on the replay.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, we'll be actually, I'll be looking at the comments, and if you're looking at it on the replay, feel free to ask your question, because we will respond. Somebody will respond to you, either me or John, whoever sees it first,
Or both.
or whoever.
Sometimes that happens with guests sometimes, because we still do our guest messaging.
That's true.
A lot of it's automated, and we talk about that too in some of the other coaching we do. But there are times you actually have to talk to people, and currently we still do that. Like, for example, if they ask, you know, how far away is something? How far away is this particular location from wherever they're going? And so you kind of have to have somebody to do that. And we still do that part. And sometimes it's funny because we share the account. So I'll answer them and Wendy will answer them. They'll get like 2 answers. So we kind of have to coordinate sometimes of who's actually doing who's on duty right now.
Who's on duty right now? That's right.
Usually it's me.
It's usually
me.
Yes.
But if I'm asleep, when you'll start it, that happened the other day.
Right.
Because Wendy gets up a lot earlier than I do, and I stay up a lot later than she does. So those are our natural times to, you know, switch off. And yeah, it was in the morning, I think, and you had been answering their questions, right. And then I answered it too because I didn't see it. But that happens. It happens. It'll happen on this too.
Sure enough.
As long as we answer the same thing, it's fine.
Right.
So,
well, if I don't know the answer, then I'm going to ask you.
Right. But I'm in the messaging.
Right.
Because a lot of times we do have to do that. But that's something else we've standardized too, is we have a place that we go and we have answers to these types of questions, and we have predetermined things that we say. So it's interesting because we'll actually end up saying the same thing, like right. in almost the same words.
Right. Because
we've documented it. That's part of what you have to do when you have a business, is you need to document everything that you do, because I'm not going to be answering these questions all the time forever. And so we've kind of set it up now so that it's easy for us to pass that off to a VA.
It's going to be so wonderful.
Our mentors keep telling us to do that, and we keep just doing it, but that's something we need to work on.
Yes.
So for sure.
Maybe in 2020.
Yeah. We should do it now, actually.
Yes,
but
we should.
We haven't.
But we will.
Perhaps a little lazy on that part. It's a lot easier just to keep doing what you're doing than it is to change things sometimes. So that's what's going on there.
Well, if anybody has any comments or questions,
leave them down below.
Feel free
and we'll get to them.
Leave them, and we will take care of that.
And we're gonna do some more of this.
Yeah,
I like this format. I like putting the information out.
Let's do it.
And we have like thousands of topics we could talk about.
I know, right?
In fact, we just got off base. We went into messaging.
Actually, you know what? we've got 88 topics that we can talk about.
That's true. We could make each one of
So
those
you can go
alive.
pick up the book too.
Yeah. Check. And by the way, I know a bunch of you have actually read this book.
Yes.
If you would go to Amazon and leave a review, unless it's really bad. If it's a bad review, just don't leave it. Kidding. Kind of.
Unless you're gonna do it.
But it does help just to have reviews out there so other people can find it, because there's a lot of really good, valuable information in there. And I would like to just have it out there to as many people as possible. So that's one way people find it, is it has other reviews and they see other people got value out of it as well. So that helps.
Yep. Sure enough.
All right. Well, if that's it, we are off. And
We're off to eat lunch.
we'll go eat lunch and talk about business and what we're going to talk about next time, I guess.
Yes. Let's go do that. Bye, everybody.